This is Lake Tahoe, a place known for its breathtaking beauty, nestled between the Sierra Nevada mountains of California and Nevada. Every year, millions of people visit to enjoy a variety of activities like boating, skiing, and of course, mountain biking. But 5 years ago, this beautiful lake became the backdrop for a mystery that would captivate the world. This is Dan and his son, Alex. They were a father-son duo who loved adventure, and mountain biking was their greatest passion. Every weekend, they would go out together, and this day was no different. They were ready to hit the trails at Lake Tahoe. And before they set off, Dan took a selfie with his son. That single photograph captured their pure joy. Little did they know, it would be the last image their family would ever see. Dan and Alex set out from home, filled with excitement. They rode down a narrow forest path and then vanished without a trace. Their disappearance sent shockwaves through their family, the community, and the mountain biking world. What happened to them? Where did they go? And how could they have simply disappeared? As the hours passed, Dan's wife, Sarah, grew increasingly worried. Their planned return time came and went, with no phone calls or texts. By nightfall, she knew something was terribly wrong. She immediately reported them missing to the local authorities. A massive search operation was launched at dawn the next day. Over 100 search and rescue personnel, including police, volunteers, and trained experts, scoured every trail and valley in the area. The search teams followed the last known trail of Dan and Alex. They found their bicycle tracks on the dirt path. But the trail abruptly ended at the edge of a steep, rocky ravine. Despite days of intensive searching, no other clues were found. There were no signs of a struggle, no broken pieces of equipment, and no signs of them anywhere. The rough terrain and the deep river below made it impossible to search thoroughly. After weeks of tireless searching, the authorities were forced to make a difficult decision. They concluded that Dan and Alex had likely fallen into the ravine, and their bodies were swept away by the river, never to be found. The case was eventually closed, and the two were officially presumed deceased. The family and the community were left with an overwhelming sense of grief and unanswered questions. The beautiful trails of Lake Tahoe now carried a heavy, heartbreaking memory. 5 years passed. The case of Dan and Alex had slowly faded from the public memory. Their family had tried to move on, and Lake Tahoe had returned to its peaceful, tourist-filled self. But then, an unexpected discovery reignited the cold case. A geologist named Mark was conducting research on the rock formations in the very same area where the father and son had disappeared. As he was taking photographs, something caught his eye on the face of a sheer, impossible cliff. Mark was completely baffled. How did a bicycle end up there? It was stuck in the rock in such a strange way, seemingly impossible for a person to have placed it there. He immediately took a picture and sent it to the police. When the officers saw the image, they recognized the bicycle at once. It was Dan and Alex's! This discovery sent shockwaves across the globe. How did their bike get there? Did they somehow climb this impossible cliff? Were they still alive? A flood of new questions arose, reopening a case that had been closed for 5 years. Expert teams arrived at the scene and began a new investigation. They concluded that the bike could not have gotten there on its own. Something extraordinary must have happened. With the case reopened, a new team of experts arrived at the scene. They meticulously examined the cliff face and the area around the bicycle. The initial theory that the bike had been lodged there by a fall was quickly dismissed. The angle and position of the bicycle were too precise, almost as if it had been placed there deliberately. This led the team to believe there must be an entry point that they had missed 5 years ago. Using a high-resolution drone, the team was able to get an unprecedented view of the cliff. That's when they made the incredible discovery. Hidden behind a thick curtain of ivy, directly behind where the bicycle was lodged, was a small, secret cave entrance. It was a natural fissure in the rock, almost impossible to see from the ground below. This was the missing piece of the puzzle. The search party carefully entered the hidden cave. The air was still and cold, and the silence was heavy. As their flashlights cut through the darkness, they found what they had been searching for. Deeper inside the cave, away from the entrance, were the skeletal remains of 2 individuals, huddled together. Beside them, tucked inside a waterproof bag, was an old digital camera. The discovery of the remains brought both sorrow and a strange sense of closure. But it was the camera that held the final answers. The memory card contained a series of videos and photos, documenting their final days. The camera revealed that after their initial fall into the ravine, they had found this hidden cave. For weeks, they tried to find a way out. But the passage was blocked by a rockfall. They lived on what little food they had, but eventually their supplies ran out. The bicycle, it turned out, had been an act of desperation. They had wedged it in the cliff, face hoping it would be seen and lead someone to their location. In the last video ever recorded, Dan turned the camera towards Alex and gently filmed his son. Alex looked exhausted, but a faint smile crossed his face as he saw his father with the camera. Dan hid his own tears and whispered, "Alex, I know this is hard, but I am here with you. I love you so much." The video ends there. The camera was the final piece of the puzzle, bringing the family the closure they had desperately needed. They finally knew what had happened to Dan and Alex. They hadn't simply disappeared in a tragic accident that couldn't be explained. They had fought for survival for weeks. The last moments captured on camera were a powerful testament to a father's unconditional love for his son. Despite the heartbreaking loss, the family finally had an answer after 5 long years of searching. The story of Dan and Alex serves as a powerful reminder for everyone. It is not only a cautionary tale about the unpredictable dangers of nature, but also a testament to the enduring power of love. May they rest in peace. Thank you for watching.